Everybody else is going to be paying $5,500 for rent.
At this point, it's a big trend among Gen Z and young folks to say renting is the more wise.
Yeah, so
And look at us,
look at us now. We're doing a podcast.
middle class, income bracket. In the past, moving out of the cities and just putting crazy cash offers, using shop, have a chance.
Have a leg up, against everybody else.
Yeah.
It was very tough at that time.
That was.
Welcome to today's interview with my good friend, business partner, somebody that I look up to even though I'm taller than him, Mark Zook. Mark Zook is one of the main founders of HomeDirection and many other successful startups and organizations. And today we're going to be talking about his journey with HomeDirection, exactly what he's doing and how he's helping people obtain home ownership. So Mark, would love to hear just a little bit about you, who you are.
Yeah, so I am one of the founders of HomeDirection. We help buying a home easy. Specifically, we make the USDA direct loan process easy, and we'll get into what that is in a moment. I think it's important for us to touch on, before we get into a lot of details or any stories, just talk about the current state of housing today, and maybe you could share from your vantage point as a real estate agent in the Seattle area, what are some of the challenges you're seeing and what the current state of the market is.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that it is becoming harder and harder year by year to become a homeowner. And for people that are saying, I should have bought a home in 2016 or 2018, they will say the same thing in 2029 or 2028, that I should have bought a home in 2024 because home prices were still affordable. I mean, year over year, we're seeing about 8 to 10% increases. In King County, the median home price is right around $870,000. So getting into a home is becoming harder and harder. And most people are feeling like it's impossible. So that is the state of the market today. That's where home buying is.
Yeah, I heard a statistic recently that we were at the essentially worst point in the last 40 years to purchase a home, or home ownership is at its most unaffordable point in the last 40 years. That's a combination of prices and a combination of interest rates. Interest rates are at 20-year highs. Prices are at all-time highs.
Yeah, and home prices are just going up and up. I remember last year we were shopping with folks who were looking at homes in, the 500s, and I thought, man, we're kind of overpaying at $525. And literally not even a year later, homes in worse condition are selling in their neighborhood for $40,000 more, and they're pending within 4 to 5 days. So it's becoming more and more challenging to purchase a home. And for some people it feels impossible, but HomeDirection is actually making it possible. They're making the impossible possible for a lot of folks.
Yeah, what our goal is just to give everybody a shot. If you can purchase a home, we want to let you know that you can, and to make it easy and possible for you to do it. Right now, the people in the lower middle class, income bracket, in the past, homeownership was a normal thing. Now, if you talk to young people, young families, or people in that income bracket, maybe large families, people who are just kind of getting by, they will say homeownership is completely out of the question. It's not even a possibility for us at this point. It's a big trend among Gen Z and young folks to say renting is the more wise decision right now. And now renting is an option. Everybody needs shelter, but homeownership has incredible benefits. It's one of the largest wealth builders in history, in the United States, especially in the last 50 years. I believe there's some numbers. The average net worth of a homeowner is about $250,000. The average net worth of a renter is about $8,000. Now, if we can get more people to raise their net worth, the general good of society, where people will go out of poverty into prosperity, that's what we're passionate about. That's really what we want to do, is to help people come out of that. There's people who, we worked with, they bought a house for $350,000. A couple years later, it's worth $550. And that's not the story with everybody, but for us to have those stories, that's why we're doing what we're doing. And yeah.
And I think home ownership doesn't just provide prosperity for people, right, or help them build equity. I think there's a lot more that home ownership provides. For example, my personal story, my parents didn't own a home until they were in, I'm going to say, their 50s or close to their 60s. They bought their first home, their only home that they owned, in 2011. Before that, I believe we moved 5 times. That means I went to different schools. I had to make new friends. We had to start over again and again. But not only that, here's the thing. When my parents bought their home in 2011, I'm sure rent prices were somewhere around $1,500. They were paying $1,800. Now, if you ask anybody today if they would buy a home and want to secure an $1,800 payment for 30 years, everybody's hands will go up. Not only that, the home that they bought for $200,000. It's now worth $700,000.
Yeah.
So they've secured themselves, number one, a stable payment, a stable life. They've also gained equity and prosperity, and they're going to have something where right now they're at retirement age. Their payment isn't going to change. They're not looking for, a stinky apartment that's the cheapest of the cheap so they can afford to live. In fact, they've actually lowered their payment because of low interest rates a few years ago. I think they're paying like $1,100. That's life-changing for them. So I think what HomeDirection is doing and unlocking home ownership for people is just so much more than just today. I think you take a look 10 years, 15 years down the road when everybody else is going to be paying $5,500 for rent and you have a home and your monthly payment is $3,000 or $4,000. That's going to be life-changing.
Absolutely. And I'm very grateful your parents bought a home in 2011 because after that we started going to the same school and we became friends.
Yeah. So
and look at us.
Look at us now. We're doing a podcast. So this is awesome. So tell me, how did HomeDirection start? What's the story behind this? Because there's really nobody else that's doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So in 2020, going into 2021, I was working in tech. I was working as a software product manager, helping build apps and software. We were in the business-to-business space, and I'd been working in software for maybe the last 5-6 years. And I was introduced to this loan program where you could buy a house with no down payment. You get a subsidized 1% interest rate. There's no mortgage insurance, longer loan terms. And at that time, 2020, 2021, the housing market was extremely competitive. So for my wife and I to just compete with what was going on in the market, we needed a program like this just to be able to have a shot, have a chance.
Have a leg up, against everybody else.
Yeah.
It was very tough at that time.
Yeah, that was COVID, and we're in the Seattle area, so all the people working in tech, they were moving out of the cities and just putting crazy cash offers, using their stock bonuses and buying out houses. So at that point, my wife and I, we utilized this loan called the USDA direct loan, and we bought a house about 45 minutes outside of the Seattle area for $617,000.
617. What is it worth now?
About 820-ish on paper, according to what our neighbors are selling for, which that's a huge blessing. But we bought that house for $617,000. At that time, we were paying rent for a 1-bedroom, $2,400 a month.
Wow, $2,400.
$2,400 a month, and then we were able to buy a house and pay $2,300 a month.
So $100 less.
$100
you
less.
A homeowner. Mm-hmm. You're paying $100 less. Yeah. You brought nothing out of pocket, and you had a subsidized 1% interest rate.
Yes. Now, the process of getting this loan was, pardon my big word usage, arduous.
What does arduous mean, Mark? Please explain to me.
It was difficult. It was tedious. Time consuming.
Tell me this process.
Yeah. So to be able to get this loan, I had to fill out. It was about 250 pages of paperwork that I hand filled out, and then I put into a box. So it would go to it was FedEx. I'd put it in a box, and then I'd mail it to a gal in California, and she's working from home, COVID times, and my box with all my personal information comes to her house, and she goes page by page and reviews my documents. And then if it's okay, then she's going to mail that same box up to our local Washington State office, where then a couple months later I'd get approved and start shopping for a house. Now, me working in software for the last 6+ years, before this, I was like, man, this is an opportunity for sure. One, because there's this incredible loan program almost nobody knows about. And just the only challenge with it, or the major challenge with it, is just the process of getting it is hard and tedious and time consuming and annoying. And we're getting money directly from the U.S. government. So the U.S. government has so many different priorities, limited budgets. So for them to take the time to improve this thing, who knows how long that's going to take. So what I saw was, man, if we can make this easier for people, I don't even know how we're going to make money at that point. But if we can make this easier for people, we will unlock homeownership for so many people, and we will create so much value. It's going to come about as a business somehow. How, I didn't know at that time, but we've been working towards that. And since 2021, after I bought my house, we've helped hundreds of people now all across the U.S. In Washington State, that's where we started, then to Texas, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, Indiana, Georgia, the Carolinas, California, all over the U.S. now. We're helping people, get this loan, where instead of doing all that paperwork, filling out that box, or, mailing the box, instead people just fill out an easy online application. We have somebody on our team who's experienced, trained in the handbook of this program, who's going to guide them through this process and explain exactly how much they'd be qualifying for, exactly what their monthly payments are. And if it's not a fit for them, whether it's due to income or credit, they'll guide them to what the best next step is.
So your team essentially takes care of people who want to apply for this loan, and you do everything because you're the expert. You're the number one, probably the number one provider of USDA direct loans in the nation.
Probably. I don't know anybody else who does, or I don't know anybody who cares maybe as much as
I think that's the right word. And I think one thing that I want to highlight about you, Mark, is that of everybody that I've spoken to that has come in contact with USDA direct loans, they just don't care enough, and they think it's too hard. And I'll give you a direct example. I had a real estate agent here in our local market, who is technically my competitor, call me and say, hey, one of my clients asked me about a USDA direct loan. Here's the kicker. She told me, I bought my first home with a USDA direct loan. I had such a horrible experience. It was so tough, so hard, that I don't want to do this ever again. So can you please help my client and get them a USDA direct loan? And of course, I know Mark is going to help us do that, and so he did. And I think it's really important, the work that you're doing and what HomeDirection is unlocking. And not only that, providing other avenues for people. Yeah. Because there will be people that will reach out that are going to make too much for this loan program. There are going to be people who are going to reach out that don't want to live in rural areas. So tell me just briefly about the requirements for the USDA direct loan, what might disqualify a person for it, and then what other alternatives does HomeDirection provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 3 main reasons why I tell people you would not be a good fit for a USDA direct loan. Number 1 is you make a lot of money. Now, the definition of moderate income, which would disqualify you from this program, just varies county to county. There's some counties in the U.S. where you can make up to $212,000.
Wow, what is that, like California, yeah, San Francisco, or something?
Around there, exactly.
Okay.
So around that area, you'd be considered low income if you're a household of 5 and you're making less than $212,000 a year, which is pretty crazy. But in our area, King County, if you're a household of 1 to 4, if you're making less than $114,000 per year, you could qualify. Now, if you're making more than that, let's say it's your family, you have a family of 4, and you're making $120,000, this program's not the fit for you today. So most likely, so that's the number 1 reason, income. The second reason is area. So there's certain places where you can and can't buy. So it would need to be in a designated rural area. And one way we're making the process easier for people is we built a website called, on our HomeDirection website, you're able to find eligible homes for this program. So we're filtering homes automatically that are on the market, and you're able to see all the homes that are eligible. Also, we'll get a monthly payment calculation live there for like what your potential payment on this house would be. So that's the second reason you don't want to buy in a rural area, and that's a valid reason. It's not a fit for everybody. Some people really need to be close to family. Some people really need to be close to their office, wherever that is. But if you're okay with driving an extra, 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes as a commute to your workplace or your church or wherever you're at, this could be a good fit for you. And actually, what's funny is a lot of the times when I bring that up, people are like, I want to get away from the cities. I want to, have a more private area, more maybe, family friendly, get a little bit of more land, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But that is a valid reason as to why it wouldn't be a good fit for you. And then thirdly,
I just interrupt, Mark. I think a lot of people are already looking in rural area because that's the next affordable option. Like we talked about, housing has become so expensive that people have to go to rural area. And if you already have to go, if you're already looking, why not explore USDA Direct? Why not talk to HomeDirection? Why not give them a call and say, hey, is it a possibility, a good fit for me to apply for this loan program? The team's going to help you.
Yeah, exactly. I think if that's you and you're wondering about the areas, go on our website, just pick whatever state and county you're in, and then browse around, see if those areas make sense for you. Maybe if there's no eligible homes in your county, find a neighboring county that's like maybe nearby, and then also look at those monthly payments if that would be a good fit for you. Usually when people take a look at that, then that's when the unlock comes on and they're like, oh, I actually could maybe buy a house. But anyway, the third reason is processing time. So because we're getting funding directly from the U.S. government, this is different than a traditional mortgage loan where we would apply directly to the USDA, get the loan from them. However, they have their own timelines, their own schedules, their own funding, their own budgets, where this process could take long, depending on where you're buying. So in some states, it could take over a year just to get approved and start shopping for a house. Other states would take a week. It just varies state to state. But if you're in an extreme rush to buy, where your lease is ending tomorrow, not tomorrow, but your lease is ending in 30 days on the home you're renting, then a different loan program might be a better fit for you. And we help with those as well. So typically, when someone's a first time, actually, I'll just share this, and these are rough statistics. So. I
don't fact check.
No
Twitter. What do they call those notes?
Community notes.
This is false.
Don't community notes me on this. But I think based on the numbers I read a couple of years ago, this is what they roughly were. The majority of people, if they're buying a house using a mortgage loan in the United States, about 80% are going to use what's called a conventional loan. When you're using a conventional loan, you could put 3% down as a first-time home buyer. So that's a very accessible option for people. There's no really wait time on these. You can buy anywhere. You don't need to buy in a designated rural area. There will just be that down payment requirement. So that's about 80%. Then there's about 19% that use what's called an FHA loan. With an FHA loan, you can put 3.5% down. It has a little bit more flexible credit requirements. So if your credit score is lower than I'd say 700, FHA might be an interesting option for you, monthly payment wise. And that's going to be about 19%. And then there's 1% that goes to VA or USDA guaranteed loans. And then even less than 1% is the USDA direct loan. That's the one we specialize in. Now, we can help with all of those, and we do. And we've helped hundreds of people buy homes with traditional loans as well. So those are some of the different options. And if the USDA direct loan isn't a fit for you, now there are some great reasons as to why it might be. So the number one reason is the monthly payment. I think you were sharing the other day, you helped somebody buy a house with one of these, and do you remember what the monthly payment was?
Yeah, so we helped somebody purchase a home for it was $454,000, and if I'm not mistaken, the monthly payment was right around $1,600. I think you saw, right? It's like 15 something to like 16. So it's an absolute game changer when people can go from paying $2,200 for a 2-bedroom apartment today to owning their own home and paying $1,600.
Yeah, when you compare it with rent, it's a big game changer. But also when you compare it with current market interest rates, which again we're at 20-year highs on. If you compare that with current market interest rates, the monthly payment on a $450,000 home, assuming standard property taxes and homeowners insurance, we're not talking Texas numbers, people. Texas is always going to have very high property taxes.
Yeah, we're talking here in Washington.
Yeah, here in Washington, the monthly payment's going to be closer to about $3,000. So we're looking about half that monthly payment for somebody, which just completely changes the game in terms of affordability. That's $1,400 that could be going to savings. That's $1,400 that could be going to investing in your kid's future. That's $1,400 that can go to buying your dream boat or whatever, whatever it is.
Don't do that because you know what they say, the 2 happiest days of a boat owner's life is when he buys it and he sells it. So
yeah, it's either you buy a boat or you have a friend who has a boat. So I'm counting on you for that, Vinny.
So Mark, what you're saying is HomeDirection doesn't only do USDA direct loans. You do specialize and you are the #1 processor provider of USDA direct loans across the nation, but you also help people who want to purchase homes with conventional financing, FHA, VA, USDA guaranteed, bank statements, whatever it is. HomeDirection can help in the lending process.
Yeah, definitely. And we are, and I will not exaggerate with my wording on this, we are obsessed with making it easier for people. There are a lot of, I'd say, challenges in the current home buying process. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of ambiguity. It's unclear. Like, what's my next step? How much do I qualify for? What's my interest rate? What are my closing costs? We are obsessed with that process and making it easier. We're not where we want to be yet, but we are going to get there. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we are going to get there where this process is going to be easy and accessible for all people. And everybody who can qualify for a home, they should know that, and they should know their options. There should be no surprises. There should be full transparency across the board. They should know how much they're paying. They should know how much they have to bring to the table. And they should know that there's a better option for them. The reason why almost nobody talks about USDA direct loans is because there isn't a financial incentive from mortgage lenders to promote this.
Really?
Yeah.
So tell me about it. I know, but I want to hear. Really? Wow, Mark, this is such a surprise.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you mean by that?
What do you mean? So if you go, I need to make a video or something on this someday where you just cold call a loan officer and say, hey, can you tell me about a USDA direct loan, just to see what their reaction is? Because most of them will dismiss you. Most of them will say, oh, I can't do that. I won't do that. That's not real. That doesn't exist. Whatever it might be, because they can't make any money doing it.
And they don't know how to do it.
And they don't know how to do it. And it's a pain for them. It's a lot of process. We've built a bunch of software and infrastructure to make it easy, and that's how we can do it. But loan officers are not incentivized to promote this program at all. And as a result, most real estate agents don't know about it because the loan officers they work with don't tell them about it. Now, it's a complete game changer for real estate agents because for real estate agents, there's people who would be totally not qualified for a house. Or let's say you're buying in an expensive area and somebody's qualified on a traditional loan at $300,000, but then they get a USDA direct loan and now they're shopping at $475,000. That completely unlocks where and what they can buy at that price point, even though their monthly payment is going to be about the same or even lower.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I do wish a lot more real estate agents knew about this loan program. And if you're a real estate agent listening, you have to connect with HomeDirection and you have to talk with HomeDirection, because here's just a real life example. I had a buyer who came in. This was 2 years ago. We purchased a home for them about a year ago. They came in, they got pre-approved for about $500,000. They needed to have a down payment. They needed to have closing costs. They only had about enough money for closing costs. The homes that they looked at in their budget were horrible, especially in our market for their family. It was rough. So they said, you know what, we probably can't do this. We don't want to purchase a home. So I said, hey, why don't we take a look at the HomeDirection option and just verify your guys' income? Fast forward a year later, they ended up applying through HomeDirection. We purchased them almost a 2,600 square foot house in a beautiful community, top rated school district. Their monthly payment is like $2,600. So they're paying less for a $675,000 home, if I'm not mistaken, less than they would have for that $500,000 house with a 3% down payment. So it's absolutely game changing. And I think when people start to see this and understand it, they're going to see that the net benefit they can provide for individuals. And obviously, Mark, like you said, you didn't even know how you're going to make money doing this. You started doing this because you saw that there is value that will be provided to people, and it's clearly seen. So Mark, I mean, I've got plenty of stories where we work together. What are some of the stories you can tell me about folks that have purchased with HomeDirection, people that you've helped?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones that comes to my mind is there was a gal, she was living in California. She moved out to the Dallas, Texas area with her husband and her child. The situation with her husband got difficult, got abusive. Husband kicks them out of where they're living. They start the mom and the daughter start living in their car. The city of Dallas has some good programs that help people in these situations. So they go from living in their car for a couple days to now they're staying in a hotel, getting some temporary housing. And in that process, she's able to go and get a job. She goes, gets a job, gets some stable employment, gets into an apartment. In that time, we're applying for the USDA direct loan. She ends up buying a brand new house in Southeast Dallas for about $212,000. She's paying $1,200 a month. So she went from homeless to homeowner.
Wow.
With this program, and that's one of the most touching stories for me. We have hundreds of stories, hundreds. That's just one of them in Texas. Another one that's just super practical and real. There's somebody in Southern California right now where their landlord raised their rent to about $3,400 a month. Big family, husband, wife, a couple kids, and that just became really tight for them. So they applied for this loan, submitted an offer, got that offer accepted. They're going to move into a brand new house at $2,600 a month.
Wow.
It's two contrasting stories. One is a very extreme one where it's homeless to homeowner. The other one is just like a family where things are getting tight, but now opportunity unlocks for them just because they now have that breathing room, they now have that freedom to pay less and own a home.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So how can somebody apply for a USDA direct loan? What are their next steps?
Yeah. So in the same way, you could do your taxes by hand. You could do your taxes by yourself. And you could fill out, your 1040 and mail it to the IRS. You can do the same thing with the USDA direct loan. That's kind of what I did, where you mail it to them, you do it with them. What HomeDirection does is we digitize the whole process. We make it all online. We have a personalized processor that's assigned to you that will hold your hand from the initial application all the way till you get the keys to your house. So you could just contact us, reach out to us on our website. There's just a button that says Get Started. We'll answer a couple questions just so we make sure we personalize the process to you. Then someone will give you a call and then just start talking you through the next steps in the application process.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys really make it easy for people, no matter what stage of the home buying process they are. They can always reach out to HomeDirection. And one final question to you, Mark, is what's the biggest challenge that HomeDirection is having? And maybe how can other people help? Or what can other people do to support the mission that HomeDirection has? Yeah,
I think it's incredibly important to help people who need help. I think we're called to that in a way or with some people, this category of home buyer might be an afterthought. You don't have $1 million in your bank account. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of getting by. I think spreading the word that this is an option. Mm-hmm. You don't have to work with us. There's some other people that do what we do, but just letting people know that this is a possibility, and you could use all the resources that HomeDirection has. Just show somebody the website and say, hey, this is a potential house you could buy. Mm-hmm. like you're having a conversation with somebody, you're at a birthday party, and somebody, they bring up, rent is so expensive, paying $3,000 a month. But you could actually buy a house for $2,500 a month, and you can own a home, and it won't be that far, and it could be big and new, and just to let people know that this is a possibility and that this is an option. In our first few years of building this, we really did not do much outbound marketing or promotion because we really wanted to get the process right. And I feel like we're at that stage more so. We're still continually improving. But the majority of the people we've worked with have been word of mouth. So it's been, friends telling friends, family members telling family members. So just to continue that, just to let people know that this is an option. And then I'd say the second hurdle we face is just education. There's a lot of misconceptions about this. Some people think you need to be extremely low income just to qualify. Other people think, you need to buy a farmhouse, or you need to have some cows at your house.
You need to move, to the middle of nowhere where,
Yeah.
The nearest Costco is an hour and a half drive. And if you fall and break your leg, nobody's coming for you, buddy. That's not true, right?
Yeah, that's not true. So just to help with education and misconceptions, hear directly from us. I mean, we again are obsessed with making this easy, making it transparent. Anything we can publish and make useful for people, we will. And I just think as a whole, more people need to know that homeownership is a possibility. And whichever route they take on that, that's great, and we're happy to help and make it easy for everyone.
Amazing. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I get to talk to you every day, and today I get to talk to you a little bit more. So for the friends that are tuning in on YouTube, I would love it if you would subscribe. If you would like this video, share it with a friend, please. This might be literally life-changing for them. So thanks again, Mark, and have a great day, friends.
Thank you.